Hello, my name is Benjamin Timothy Goby, and for my project, the BTG Interviews, today I'm interviewing.
My name is Chris Rankin. I'm best known as Percy Weasley in the Harry Potter films. After working on Harry Potter for what felt like a million years, what was a million years, I have also worked as a production coordinator on Downton Abbey, a Fox show called The Bastard Executioner for Kurt Sutter, Atlantis for the BBC, His Dark Materials, Discovery, the other lots of things.
I saw that on IMDb when I was researching you, and I obviously gone a bit off subject here. Atlantis. The very first time I met actors was Jack Donnelly, Mark Addy, and Robert Evans from Atlantis. They were filming in Colford near the Forest of Dean, where I lived at the time. And they were very nice to me. They gave me autographs, they gave me photos, and that was my first proper inspiration for being an actor.
Yeah.
And that's really what got me going. So that's quite cool to see that you worked on that show.
Yeah, I worked on that show for nearly 3 years.
Yeah.
One of my favourite jobs I've done. I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
That is really what got me going, and this is why I'm doing this thing.
Yeah.
Those guys were like my first proper inspiration.
Where was that? Was that Clearwell Caves, was it?
It was in Colford. It was right next to this woods on the outskirts of Colford. I'm not too sure what the woods were called.
I remember. I know exactly.
It was for series 2.
Yeah,
it was the first few episodes of series 2.
It's the lake and the yeah. I know.
Yeah. Question 1. At what age did you start acting, and what inspired you to become an actor?
So I was a shy kid. I was a really, really, really horribly shy kid. I think in this day and age, bearing in mind I grew up in like the 80s and early 90s, I guess. I was born in 83. I was just shy and slightly awkward. I think in these days I'd probably be called anxious and probably have the social anxiety thing. I didn't like people. Hide behind my mum. If I went to a friend's house and there was a sleepover, I'd get so worried about it I'd be sick. Like really, really, really bad. When I went to high school, my mum encouraged me towards, and my mum was a teacher at the school I went to. She sort of pushed me towards auditioning for the school play just to be in the chorus. This was 1996. And I got a part in the chorus and basically came to the realization that when I was up on stage pretending to be somebody else, I had no nerves and no anxiety and no worries, and people enjoyed what I did and I was quite good at it. And I'd always been quite a musical kid. I played the violin and all sorts of other things. And then I joined a local amateur dramatics group and did school shows for years and years and years. And then when I was 16, BBC Newsround, the kids' news show, had a piece on saying that Warner Brothers were making Harry Potter and they were looking for normal children, not like kids from stage schools, just normal kids who like acting or like Harry Potter or both, to write into them and say, my name is Chris, I would like to play this character because ... Send in a picture, send in that letter. And if you didn't hear back in a couple of weeks' time, then bad luck wasn't your time. Then me and a couple of other friends wrote in, I wrote in. And I was 16 at the time, and ginger-haired, and I was a school prefect. And I thought, well, if there's any part I'm going to get, it's going to be the 16-year-old ginger school prefect. And I basically wrote that in a letter. I said, I'm Chris, and I like Harry Potter. I'd read all the books at that point. There was only three of them actually at that point, so I'd read all of them. And I thought I'm quite like Percy. Actually, I'm red-haired ginger school prefect. So that's the part I think I should play. And I didn't hear back. I didn't hear back for months. That was April 2000, and I heard back in August of 2000. And within 10 days, I had 2 auditions and started filming. So that's how I became an actor. It was years of doing it for fun and love, and then very suddenly, because I wrote a slightly silly letter, I got lucky.
Question 2. What has been your best and most challenging roles in your career?
Oof. I'm quite lucky. I don't do many challenging roles. I guess actually probably the most challenging role. I did a play called Hedda Gabler, an Ibsen play that I actually produced. I ran a theatre company when I grew up in Norfolk, and I had a theatre company there for a while. That was pretty much a professional outfit. We had professionals and we paid actors to be in it. I produced it, and I also played Eilert Lovborg, who's sort of the lost romantic love interest, sort of from times gone by, who's never gotten over Hedda Gabler, who was the love of his life, and it's quite a tragic story for him. And it wasn't challenging. It was just an awfully emotional part. Really, there's a lot. He's quite a sad, quite damaged person. So it was an interesting part to play. And I think because I was producing the show, I had quite a lot of stress on me. So the whole thing became quite an emotional experience. But it was the part I think I've enjoyed getting my teeth into the most. Most of the time outside of Harry Potter, where I don't. Percy's there, and he has quite a bit in the first 3 films, and then he's a presence. He's a welcome presence. But generally speaking, I tend to gear myself more towards more fun projects. I like my musical theatre. I'm very keen on doing my pantomimes at Christmas. And those parts are the challenging bit in different ways. Like pantomime, nothing's challenging about a panto. It's just the stamina you need to get through 2 shows a day for a month. Yeah. Everything has its challenges, I guess.
Question 3. Which actors, actresses and other members in the film and television industry have you enjoyed working with before, and are there any you would like to work with in the future?
Ooh. I mean, the whole cast of Harry Potter was a treat, and I say that absolutely genuinely and honestly. They were all brilliant. I really enjoyed Julie Walters, who played Mrs. Weasley and my mum in those films, was amazing, and just like a mother to us. She looked after us. She was kind and caring, and you'd always get a hug. And she was brilliant. I also really enjoyed working with Michael Gambon, which I got to do really on sort of the fifth film especially. I had a couple of scenes where there was only a few of us in it, and it was me, him, Robert Hardy, who played the Minister of Magic, and then a few other people, which was mixtures of George Harris, who played Kingsley Shacklebolt, or Imelda Staunton, who played Umbridge, and these various people. And it was really cool getting to kind of work with these seasoned professional actors, because when I'd been in the earlier Potter films, I'd always been the oldest of the kids. When I came back from the 5th film onwards, I was the youngest of the grown-ups, because Percy's left Hogwarts by then and he's at the Ministry. So I got to hang out with all these amazing adult actors, and even if I didn't have an awful lot to do in the scenes, I got to learn and watch and eavesdrop. And I loved it. I really enjoyed working with Gambon. I think he's a clever actor. He's always looking for a better way to do something.
Question 4. Is there any role or character you would like to portray in the future, or is there any particular TV show or film you would like to work on?
Oh. No. I don't know. There's many parts. Not necessarily. The thing is, these days, after Potter, one of the things I realised was that as an actor, I prefer working on the stage. As a producer, director, production coordinator, that side of the industry I thoroughly enjoy. I love all the process that goes into seeing what is on the screen. The process of being in front of the camera, I find quite tedious, because you're chopping and you're in and out. You're never telling a story in the best way it can be told. It's quite a technical process, and it doesn't do an awful lot for me as an actor, having to switch it on and switch it back off again, and you never start at the beginning and finish at the end.
On stage.
On stage, yeah. You come on stage at 7:30 p.m. and you tell the whole story until you go home at the end of the night.
Yeah.
And you do that over and over again, and there's something quite cathartic and something quite, for me, satisfying about telling that story. The technical aspect. The thing I don't like about TV and film is that you can give your best performance on a take. You can break down, you can feel all the emotions you need to feel, and absolutely nail that performance to find out that the light was casting a shadow over the person you were in a scene with, or the camera didn't pull focus right, or whatever. Do you know what I mean? And you can't. You might have given your best, the best you're going to give, and you can't get that back. And on stage, you get whatever you get, and it's different every night. Even if it's the same show you're doing for a year, you will never see an actor do it the same way twice. And there's something special about that. Yeah.
Question 5. As an actor, how do you feel your career has adapted over the years, and which areas of acting do you feel you need to improve in?
I feel like I've learned a lot more. I think I've learned that less can very much be more as an actor. I think when I started out when I was 16, with my experience in school shows and local Amdram, what you're giving there is very different to what you're expected to give on a film. And film and TV, especially because you're giving a performance to an audience that could be this close to you. You know, on camera, the camera is right there with you. On a stage, it's a very different experience, a different type of acting. But it's about what I discovered, what I learned, and what I have learned over the years is that it's not necessarily what you're doing; it's what you're not doing is equally as important. Silences and lack of action speak just as loudly, sometimes even more so. And actually, what you need to do is listen. You should always listen. And one of the tricks I think is listening and not waiting for your line. It's just listening to what the other person has to say. But it works equally well on stage. You know, less is more. You just have to make it. You have to make less bigger, so they can see it at the back. That's the only difference. I don't know. You're always learning, and some things work for some projects that don't work for others. You know, like you can give a very real, very minimalist performance for one part, but that wouldn't necessarily work if you're playing a Bond villain, where it's going to be camp and over the top, and you don't want a Bond villain who looks like he's in a Gus Van Sant or Lars von Trier film. Do you know what I mean? It's very different experience. Yeah.
Okay. Question 6. What advice would you have for myself or any other young person looking to get a job as an actor or any other job in the film and television industry?
Take everything. Be relentless about it. That's my... I've been talking to a few people here at the Comic-Con this weekend, and some of them are looking to act, some of them are looking to go into TV and film production side of things. And it is about making sure people know who you are. That can be a good thing, it can be a bad thing. Some people will get very annoyed if they see your CV every 3 days. But equally, if they've got your CV when they're looking for somebody, they've got your CV in that pile. When I'm working in TV and film these days as a production coordinator, one of my jobs is hiring crew. So I have a file on my computer that is CVs, and there are files for cameramen, soundmen, production assistants, production secretary. So when I'm looking for somebody, I go into that file, and it's got all the CVs that I get sent. And I drag them out of the email and put them in there. And when it comes around, I open them up, and I start ringing round. And there'll be people I've worked with before that I know I want to work with again because I want to work with them because they're good and we work well together. So I start with them, and then I work my way down the list. And eventually I get to the people I haven't worked with before, and it might be that we need somebody for a day just because we're doing a big scene and we need extra crew, and that's where I start getting in the people who I haven't worked with, because I'll go, well, we only need them for a day. If they're shit, then we won't have them back. If they're great, we'll call them again next time we need somebody else. And then when we come to the series in the next series, you go, oh, we had him in for a couple of days. He was really good. We'll have him back. How it is with acting is... it's different, and it is very much being the right person for the job. There's no other way to put it. You're either right for the part or you're not. not necessarily anything you can. Sometimes, you get feedback from an audition and it is, we were looking for somebody taller. You can't do anything about being taller. Sometimes there's a thing at the moment, okay, about actors are trying to get casting directors to give feedback on auditions. And it can go, I think, either one of two ways, and that is that you get feedback like, we decided to go for somebody taller, we decided to go for somebody older. There's nothing you can do about that. That's not feedback, that's just, you're not right for the part. When you get feedback, the likelihood is that the feedback is just, you're not right for the part. Or the problem is the feedback is you just weren't good enough, or it wasn't your day. So we saw somebody we liked more than we liked you. That's all it is. It comes down to being in the room on the right day and being right for the part. If you're right for the part's yours. And then everyone has a part that's right for them. Just have to hope that they see the audition.